Israeli College of Engineering. We are teaching only engineering and technology for the last 22 years. The only institute in the city that teaches only engineering. 6 different departments. We have 2 master's degrees in technological entrepreneurship and in computer software engineering. And we are located in the very center of R&D in the city, aiming to provide equal opportunity access to higher education. It means that we are not this ivory tower where only 15% of the population get accepted. This is a place where you come and you see Jerusalem. And Jerusalem is a fascinating city. It's a huge city, 1 million people in Israel. It's like the biggest in the country. But it's also one of the poorest cities and one of the most diverse. When you come to Jerusalem, you see the Muslims, the Christians, the Arabs, the Jews, the religious, the secular, the women and men in all ages and all nationalities. And this diversity is something that you can also see here at the college. We're aiming to provide equal opportunity access, meaning some of our students is first generation for higher education, and we aim to provide good engineers for the growing high-tech industry in the city and also in the state. So as I said, we are actually representing everything. It's important because this is an old slide. We are already 36% women and 22% Arab students. And I'm saying this because this is also what we want to see in our programs for entrepreneurship. This is the value of R&D in Jerusalem. This is the college in the very center of it. But just across the road, from the other side, over here, you can see. Here is the Hebrew University with its Nobel Prize winners and science. You have 2 industrial parks, one over here and one over here, Malcha and Har Chotzvim. Anything to do with technology, with startups, with the high-tech industry is on those industrial parks. We have another college over here, Lev College for the ultra-Orthodox community. We have a huge hospital, one of the biggest in the state, called Shearei Tzedek. We are also collaborating with in a very special program. Anything to do with entrepreneurship, innovation, high-tech is in and around this valley, and we're in the very center of it. It is important because this is what makes an ecosystem work, right? We want to communicate with one another, and A2B is a part of this ecosystem. But it all starts with the phrase that you already heard so much about, the startup nation. You probably can talk about it better than me. This is actually, it comes from this book, The Startup Nation, by Dan Sander and Sol Zinder. And every time that I go abroad in a non-COVID year, I go about twice a month somewhere to teach, and I bring those books with me, and I take them to Sol Zinger's house. I knock on the door, and he comes out with his pajamas and says, "Oh, it's you again." He's signing all the books, and this is the profit that we bring to the world, the startup nation. What is it all about? I'm going to sum up the book in a few slides. We are the first in the world in R&D spending globally, research and development. Spending globally. We're the first in the world on number of startups outside the Silicon Valley. We're the first in the world in per capita VC investment, meaning from all over the world, venture capitalists are coming here to buy Israeli startups. There are more Israeli companies listed on NASDAQ than India, Japan, and Korea combined. It makes sense? Yeah, it makes sense. No, it doesn't make sense. These guys are huge. Korea is 50 million people. They are a technology giant. Japan is 126. India, 1.3 billion. Just think of the 10% of the Indian, the people from India, what kind of technology they're holding, and they are huge. We are only 8 million. If you look at this slide, NASDAQ non-US listed companies and ignore the Cayman Islands, those are for tax reasons. Israel is number one. This is the miracle in one slide, but COVID killed it completely. No, it didn't. This is actually the new billionaires coming only from Europe. This is the new exits in 21. And you can see Israel and the other states in Europe. And of course, in 21, we don't know what's going to be now. It's a real roller coaster, But COVID did very well for the economy of Israel. And we all felt it, right? If you had a pizzeria and it didn't have a WhatsApp, an app to order the pizza, it didn't exist anymore. Nobody went. And it took a process that everybody knew that it's going to happen and accelerated it completely. Anyone knows this car? By the raise of hand. Anybody see this car? Nobody. Guys, this is the car industry of Israel in the 60s. It's called Susita. Not many of them left. This is due to the fact that, and it was based rumors, they were eaten by camels. And they were made out of fiberglass, and camels used to eat this car. And this was the car that the officers got. They used to put their hand, there wasn't any air conditioning, on the window, and it used to crash the window. It wasn't a very good car. Very few of them left. So this is the car industry of Israel in the 60s. But now, what about the car industry now? Anyone drove in an Israeli car recently? Well, we are an automotive giant. I don't know if you know it. You don't know it because nobody drove an Israeli car. But in every car that has some sort of responsive auto drive, lane assist, autonomous driving of any car, Mercedes, BMW, Volvo, Hyundai, you name it, Peugeot, Renault, there's a system of Mobileye, a Jerusalemite startup that is actually planning and it's actually responsible for all the autonomous systems in cars. What happened was exactly the process was the same as what I hear here around the table. I ask you, what do you do? And I hear professions I never heard before. Sustainable engineering. Wow. We're doing economical sustainability. Oh my God, we didn't have those things. A year ago, I didn't hear those professions. If I take 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 90, and believe me, I know you're young people and you think it's a lot of time. It's not a lot of time. 200, it's nothing. It's a blink in history. 90% of the population went and worked in agriculture. Where are all those people now? What are they doing? And if the cars are going to be autonomous, what are the drivers going to do? Is there going to be any bus driver or truck driver if everything's going to be autonomous? This thing changed the world. And what's unique about it is everything that we know of and we perceive as a car, like doors, windows, engine, steering wheel, it's just a coverage for a computer. This computer, I have it in home. I could be a part of the automotive industry. And you can be a part of the medical industry if you're designing a medical device. With the same computer, you can be part of the infrastructure and building industry if you're thinking about a smart home. So, some of the Israeli startups, famous ones, I just chose, I probably need to update it. Anyway, this is a vehicle location and protection system. It actually knows exactly where every car is. Tadiran, which is a technology company, did it for their own cars. But then they said, we can sell it. And this was the very first location and protection system to actually locate every car. Nowadays, everybody's located. The very first drug treating Alzheimer's. This is baby sense. Anyone knows what it is? It's actually a system if you put underneath the mattress of a baby. It monitors the heartbeat of the baby, preventing death in the cradle. And this is the patent from '91. This is I think one of the most famous and one of the oldest. The water heating solution using solar power. The very first patent, '64, Israeli patent. Disk on key, flash memory, data storage device done by Dov Moran, a good friend. He's now the owner of Groove Ventures. He took the money that he got from M Systems, sold the company to SanDisk, and he opened a VC and investing in startups. This is actually what a lot of entrepreneurs are doing after an exit. This is refueling without your wallet. You go to it, you have it, you know it. You go into the gas station, there's a little chip, you fill in your tank, put the hose back, drive home, and the receipt is sent, in my case, to the college. So this is a very good one. The very first line of defense, the very first antivirus security software development by Gil Schwed, Marius Nacht, and Shlomo Kremer. We're going to talk about Gil Schwed and Marius Nacht. And Checkpoint is one of the biggest cybersecurities in the world, if not the biggest. Aggregating water, drop by drop, by Netafim.
We were there.
Yeah, fantastic. Recently sold to the Chinese, if I'm not
No,
mistaken.
to Mexican.
To the Mexican. Good. Iron Dome, what we are considering a miracle. And this I didn't know was Israeli. The moist paper wipes. So we contributed not only to the economy of the world, but also to the pollution of the world. And this is something that we use every day, unfortunately, but it's good. Mobileye, we mentioned Mobileye, the very first drone, the unmanned aerial vehicle, the coronary stent for cardiovascular problems, cherry tomatoes, originally called TV tomatoes. They wanted to sell them to the Americans instead of crisps and popcorn, but the American liked their crisps, so cherry tomatoes at last. Waze, are you using Waze?
Yeah.
Fantastic, huh? I'm using it every day. An Israeli company sold to Google, $1.3 billion. Why? Anyone know? Why? Why do Google needs to buy Waze?
Because of Google Maps, I think.
They have Google Maps. The technology behind behind Waze is drawing maps. You, with your little car, can draw a map. If you drive a road that was never driven before, in the beginning you could see yourself. The icon was a little tractor, you know. They bought this technology. So Google needs anyone to draw maps. They have a picture of every house in the universe. Why do they need to buy Waze? Anyone know? So the uniqueness of Waze was the precise time of your arrival. This was it, the precise time of your arrival. And Google bought what Intel bought when they bought Mobileye. Intel bought Mobileye for $15.3 billion. They bought time. This is what they bought, time. They can have it. They have enough engineers to produce it. It's nothing. Intel, if they want, they can put any money they want and build Mobileye. They can design it themselves, but it takes time to do it. I compare it to pregnancy. You can't have 9 women being pregnant for 1 month and get a baby. You need this period of time of 9 months to deliver a baby. This is a technology barrier. So they bought this time, and this time had a price. In case of Waze, $1.33 billion, and in case of Intel buying Mobileye, $15.3. And none of it happened in Jerusalem. Well, Mobileye, yes. Mobileye did. But none of it happened in Jerusalem, and you are in Jerusalem now. What happened is most of the startups are located in Tel Aviv, Herzliya, and Vicinity, in the center of Israel. That's it. We had no ecosystem here for startups in the city. And as a mayor, we had an entrepreneur. Until recently, Nir Barkat was the mayor, actually targeting the city towards the clusters that he had in mind. And he was the very first person developing antivirus and sold it for millions before there was even a virus. And then he took the money and invested it in two crazy guys, Marius Nacht and Gil Schwed. We mentioned them, and they built Checkpoint. Now they're one of the biggest multi-billion-dollar companies. Company, one of the biggest, if not the biggest in the world in cyber. And he built BRM, another VC, did several exits of hundreds of millions of dollars, and became the mayor. As a mayor, he wanted to be a successful mayor. He didn't want to fail. And this is why he didn't run the city like a startup, because 90%, 95, 98, depends on the stage, of startups fail. He didn't want to fail. So what do you do when you're a mayor and you don't want to fail? You go and you copy.
Right.
In Argentina they put umbrellas on the street. Let's put umbrellas on the street, cover the streets with umbrellas. It's nice. This is how they do it. And he went to Professor Michael Porter from Harvard Business School and Professor Richard Florida. Together they set up clusters for the city of Jerusalem, and they said, we cannot put the money everywhere. We're going to do life sciences, tourism, some high tech, no startups. Why? We don't have any startups in the city of Jerusalem. The need for an ecosystem, it came bottom up. We saw that we had the government here. We had the best universities. Hebrew U, two campuses, Bezalel Academic of Art, Hadassah, Lev College, Israeli College, so on. We had mentors here. We had service providers like accounting and business consulting, and everybody's here at the capital. Large companies are often buying innovation, like Intel bought Mobileye. Investment funding, we had the best VCs here. JVP, Our Crowd, Cornerstone, Jumpspeed Ventures, VLX Ventures, and many others. Fresh Fund. They went, bought startups from Tel Aviv and came back to Jerusalem. It made no sense. And we had community events, and we said, we're going to take all those ingredients together, and we're going to create an ecosystem here. We decided to build a non-profit organization called Made in Jerusalem. 3,000 years of innovation. And I'm privileged to be a part of this board of directors. And this ecosystem, aiming to do three things: collecting, connecting, and branding. First, we want to collect all the data about the city. Then we're going to connect the startups to one another. And we're going to brand the city as the next best thing for startups. So we plotted every startup in every vertical onto an active map and started to connect them to one another. And we plotted every accelerator, every hub, every university. And then we attacked the report of Startup Genome about the ecosystem. So I don't know if you know, if I'm a multinational company, let's say Apple or Google or Microsoft, or a big VC or a big accelerator, Techstars, what have you, and I want to open something in any country in the world, I go to this report and I read it. And I see, well, the next trend is going to come from Argentina, from this and that city. We got Jerusalem recognized as World Top 20 in the Startup Genome Ecosystem report. We did it in 1 week. We went to every startup, every accelerator, every hub, every university, and said, now you register yourself as Jerusalemite. And what's amazing about it, a year before that, we weren't on the report. If you had a startup, you You needed to register yourself as Tel Aviv. So in one night, we became number 20. The guys from the startup Genome, they thought we hacked the system. So they sent a team. And these guys like to drink. It was a long team, in a long week. We went from one accelerator, from one startup to the other, then went to drink some beers at the evening. It was a wonderful week. And Jerusalem got recognized as number 20. This is the 5 emerging tech hubs from around the world, counted by Time Business Magazine back then, placing Jerusalem first. And this is not because of anything that I did at A2B, it's the community working together. It's like a restaurant. You're not going to go into a restaurant that is completely empty. You're going to a place that people are eating there. And you think, oh, this is probably a place with good food, right? So, same goes with the startup. You go where you know that Berlin is a nice scene, that Tel Aviv is a nice scene, and so on. We also printed T-shirts and made people tweet that Jerusalem is going to be the next best thing for startups. So you see the Prime Minister down there, previous one, we're changing a lot. We have this problem. Mayor of New York back then, Mayor Bloomberg, and the CEO of the biggest bank in Israel, but also the president, previous president, and we had to print a yellow shirt for him because he supports the Beitar Jerusalem soccer team, and red is the opposite team, and he will not wear red. So, this is a good thing. How do A2B comes into this picture? We're only a piece of the puzzle, as I mentioned, a piece of the ecosystem. We're not doing everything. We're not the only and the best. We are part of an organic chain of institutions. So we, as I mentioned, were established 9 years ago, and we recently finished the 8th cohort of A2B, and we're giving students, alumni, faculty members, people from Jerusalem and the area, an opportunity to develop their idea into a startup company. And we give them 5 tools to do it. The first one is fully equipped working space. We're going to visit it. It's a place where they can come and work. We know exactly who comes in and out. Anything from the coffee machine to this conference room is at their disposal. They can use whatever they want. Second, we're giving them an intensive program that teaches them everything they want and need in order to develop their idea into a startup. And this is not given by professors at the university. It's given by people who are running a VC, angel investors themselves, people who did 1 or 2 exits, people who knows a thing or two about patenting for startups, or legal aspects for startups, or presentation skills for startups. And this is how they not only learn, but also meet the ecosystem and get connected. And I think this is a very important tool. Networking is a must for a startup. The next tool is full academic support, meaning we have tons of engineering tools within the college. All of those tools are at the disposal of the entrepreneurs. We have wind tunnels for aviation that you can test your drone. We have a factory to produce ointments, creams, and pills in small and medium batches, from the analytical R&D until the final testing. So if you have an idea for a drug, you cannot go to Pfizer and say, stop everything, I have an idea. But over here you can actually use the plant to actually produce it, to test it, to see that it works. But also robotics and 3D printing and electronics and scanning electron microscopy. All those tools that you see in universities drawing their own cable, we're using them for the entrepreneurs. You can meet any professor, you can take any academic course, you can borrow any device you want from the library, and you can get interns to work in your company without paying. So you can actually, as a part of their academic degree, they have to do internship. So why do it in Intel and not in small companies that are growing in the college, in the accelerator? So the next tool is our partners, and Michal over there is responsible for the new wall. A little confession, my master's degree is in pharmaceutical chemistry, and the first job I ever took was at Teva. And I can tell you that those machines that you see here in this lab is exactly like the analytical lab at Teva. And an analytical lab is taking any matter, and they can actually break it into its elements and tell you that the drugs has everything that it needs to have in it and doesn't have anything that it doesn't need to have in it. For example, paracetamol can actually turn into in certain conditions to another substance that is actually toxic. And every part of this lab, every station here, takes something within the material and makes sure that it has everything that it needs to be in it, and doesn't have any of the toxics or any other matter that doesn't need to be in the drug. So in my lab at the Hebrew University School of Pharmacy, we had 2 machines like this, and in the entire college we have 20 of those. This is a real scale. We can test liquids, gas, powders, and gels, and all sorts of substances, and see that we have everything that we need in them, and we can proceed with this. Maybe I'll explain one machine that is actually, I think, fascinating. We have everything here: colorimetria, and atomic absorption, and dissolution, and HPLC and GC, and all those things that you have here. But this device is fascinating because it has paddles in it, and every vessel is actually how do you say it? It actually imitates your stomach. How do you know that when you took a pill, it actually went, and actually the key ingredient went to your body at time? So what you do is you fill these vessels with acid, similar to the body, and you put 1 pill in them, and there's the paddle going on, and every 10 minutes it takes some sample, tests it, and brings the sample back. What you get is the distribution of the key ingredient within time. And then you can see that, wow, this little pill takes 3 hours to actually distribute in the body, or it goes very fast. It also depends on the coating of the pill, and we're going to talk about this. But in Teva, when I work at Teva is a pharmaceutical industry that is doing mainly generic work. So they actually have to imitate the work of the innovator, the guy that innovated the drug. Teva is actually replicating pills, like we used to replicate CDs. They're doing it, but legally with drugs, and sometimes not legally. But what they want to see is this graph looking exactly like it looked at the innovator side. So how do you do it? In some cases, the drug of Teva worked better. You could see a more constant distribution among time of the key ingredient in the body. And then they looked at it and said, oh no, mess up with it. Make sure that it looks like the innovator. Make it work worse than it is now. We want the same effect, not better effect. So it makes you think, what is medicine all about, and what is the part of money and industry within this puzzle? But it's fascinating, and it's happening here, and this is something that they do here also. We're going to move to the next one. Get in. So who has been in Holland and Madurodam? Madurodam? No. Madurodam is like when you go to Rotterdam, there's like an attraction, a tourist attraction. They took the entire Holland and they miniaturized it into little models, and you can walk around and see Amsterdam in small scale, like a model, entire model.
We do have in Israel, Mini Israel.
Mini Israel is also actually
a park.
Yes, a park. And this is Mini Teva. Where you come here, you see everything in Teva is miniaturized into a table-size scale. If we were at Teva, this Y blender has a bottom into it. We could all sit down there in a conference room. This is how big it is. And what it does is actually mixing powders like we mix cards. Remember? We're actually taking two parts, making it into one. Two parts, making it into one. This is exactly what the Y blender is doing. Every station here is representing a station at Teva Pharmaceuticals. Over here we are making powders into little pellets, little round powder. If you take a flour, you try to pour it, it's not pouring so easily. But if you take little balls, little pellets, it will easily go off your cup. So this is turning powder into little balls, little pellets. And if you look at this dryer over here, this machine is drying powder. In Teva, this is 3 floors high. It's so big. Over here, we're looking. This section is testing that every pin is similar to his sister pin. Everybody's the same strength. Everybody's breaking the same way in the middle, and so on. And we are using those devices that are now covered, and I don't know what is happening here, but are protected to do exactly what I'm going to do now. So what you see here is I'm taking this this powder. You can see here the powder. I'm pouring it here inside. This is what we call placebo. Remember that you didn't feel well and your mother said, "Come, I'm gonna kiss you and you're gonna feel better in it." This is it. So I just put some powder inside this device, and I'm gonna use this hammer, and I'm gonna hammer it down. And remember, it was only a powder. So now, yes. Lo and behold, it's a pill.
Oh.
Now this does nothing. Yeah, it's only and it's not also, it's also not so strong. It's like you created some sand castle at the beach. If I push it a little bit, it will break. So you need to coat it. And this device that looks like a washing machine is actually coating the pills. So if you want to have, let's say,
By plastic or?
No, it's usually eggs.
Eggs.
Because we're eating it.
Or
If you're
fish
coating
in-
it
or
with yes.
fish. Okay.
So if you have, let's say, a need for aspirin. Aspirin is a sort of paracetamol, but aspirin has a lot of effects into it. One of them is diluting the blood. So people that has a lot of blood pressure and you take aspirin, it really helps you to avoid heart attacks. So you need it constantly breaking into your body. But if you have a headache, you want it now. I want that. So it depends on the coating of the pill. The more slow release the coating is, the more time it will take you to get the key ingredient into your body. So this machine is actually coating those pills. And you can see here a few tests of the students. And those are real paracetamols. This is like Aviv. And you can actually swallow them. I don't know if it's a good student or not. So it's under your own responsibility. Yeah.
No, that's
And
it.
if you remember, this machine over here, I'm sorry that everything is coated, but
No problem.
it's taking dough, creating spaghetti out of it, and then breaking the spaghetti into little pellets. And those little pellets, I'm sorry, looks like that. You see, this is what I meant. If it had been flour, it would not flow so easily. And in the industry, you need everything to flow. So this is little pellets, and those pellets are going to this machine that takes those capsules and placing the powder in the capsules. This is what you swallow. When you get this, never break this and eat and swallow whatever is inside. This cover needs to be in your stomach in order for the drug to go directly at time where it's needed. If you break it, it won't work. So don't do it. You have to swallow this, I'm sorry. So over here we're doing ointments and creams on the other side with the other machines. I know a lot of things. You can see the dust, and it's the summer break, and there are a lot of equipment now in refurbishing them or in maintenance, so we don't see everything, but you get the idea. Let's move to the other room.
בעיקרון זה דבר משפחות עשירות של המדינה שלי ששכחו את הילדים.
זה מטורף, הם הגיעו לפה.
כן, וזה קשה.
How do you know that it works in a factory? Okay, you did it in the lab. How do you know that it works?
Test it.
You test, yes, but I'm going to give another analogy. So let's say that I'm making a schnitzel. I'm taking a piece of chicken, I'm coating it with eggs, then breadcrumbs, then I'm frying it in the pan, 2 minutes on each side, fantastic schnitzel. Now I'm going to do it with the whole chicken. It's not going to work, right? I'm going to cover the chicken with egg, crack breadcrumbs, fry it for 2 minutes. Outside it's going to be cooked, inside raw. So you need to lower the temperature, extend the time, right?
Yeah.
So this is what we do here. We plan it to be into the factory. Every device here is scattered with those detectors. And it has a double coated vessel. So you can see 2 layers of liquid. And we're constantly testing everything. And those detectors go to this machine, and this machine is going to that computer. And then you know how it's going to look like in a big factory, or in the entire Sea of Galilee, or into a facility of refinement of water, or a factory for cornflakes. It's the same. So this one is actually testing crystallization. This one, according to the coverage, temperature. And then spinning and paddling, and everything is tested separately. And then you have a plan for the factory and say, this is how we do it. So this is the last stage that we developed something. We want to see that it works in the factory. Very practical approach towards engineering. And we're going to go now, this is only one lab, the pharmaceutical engineering lab. Just imagine 3 labs for material engineering, 3 labs for industrial engineering, 3 labs for electronics, 3 labs for robotics, 3 labs for everything. Yeah. So we saw one just to give you a little taste. And now I'm going to show you on the way out a little the sign that you looked at. Yes, I'm gonna show it out. So this is the wind tunnel, and tenemos buena suerte.
Okay.
Permítame presentarme Sara, that can explain a little bit about this. But you can see here, this is an aviation, a real model of a wing of a very unique airplane, if you can see. Come close.
¿Qué te pasa?
This is the wing of the airplane, and you can see the engine is embedded within the wing. So usually the engine is hanging on the wing.
Right.
So this is a unique one, and we're testing it for the Israeli aviation industry. Would you like to explain a little bit? Yes, yes.
¿Todos habláis español?
Sí.
¿De dónde sois?
Argentina,
¿De
México.
distintos sitios?
Sí.
Vale, pues aquí estamos haciendo experimentos en el túnel. Ahora mismo está el túnel encendido a una velocidad de 5 metros por segundo. Se puede subir, y voy a subirlo un poco para que lo escuchéis.
Yep.
Y básicamente lo que ha dicho él es un modelo real de un avión, partido por la mitad para hacer experimentos en el túnel. ¿Habéis escuchado que ha subido?
Sí.
Ahora está a... no se verá cuánto. 8 metros por segundo, que parece poco, pero si lo pasas a kilómetros por hora es muchísimo.
Te pasa.
Y se hacen experimentos de despegue y aterrizaje con motor. Voy a encender el motor para que lo veáis. Y con eso se pueden calcular todos los... hasta cómo puede despegar el avión. Y cómo de efectivo es. Como veis ahí le he puesto una cola, ahí hay varias distintas, cada una es de un ángulo diferente, y pruebo todas para ver cuál le da más eficiencia al avión.
Wow.
Así enciendo el motor. Se puede encender mucho más, pero no lo voy a poner porque hace muchísimo ruido.
Buckle your seatbelts.
Pues sí, parece que está aterrizando un avión.
Mueve.
Sí, ahora mismo está en aterrizaje. Ahora mismo sería un vuelo estable. Y ahora le voy a poner para que despegue y sube. Y cuando acaba cada uno de los experimentos, yo tengo aquí por ejemplo todos los gráficos. Estos son todos los gráficos, todos los miles de números y los gráficos. Y yo comparo cada una de las colas y la que me da más eficiencia. Por ejemplo, aquí yo preferiría la naranja a la azul. Y así se
¿Y el viento dónde estaría aquí?
viene de allí hacia allá.
Eso.
Ese tubito que está ahí abajo en forma como de L es lo que, digamos, recibe el viento y se conecta al ordenador. Aquí veo yo a qué velocidad va.
Wow.
This airplane, when built, could fly almost directly with no rail. It doesn't need any rail. It goes like a drone.
Wow.
So this is a huge advantage to have such an airplane built. It's not a new idea, but here they're testing it in a new way, and you can see how it works. It's very rare to see such device in any academic institute. And outside there are two airplanes, turbines, that's actually creating this suction of air. When it's in full capacity, there's a real threat that it will suck the entire oxygen of this place. It's so strong.
Wow.
And when we built the very first one, which is probably was a third or a quarter of this one, and we operated it, it was so strong that the glasses of the laboratory manager flew and were hanging on the tree. So this one is super strong, and this is a great device to have here at the college. That's it for me, guys. You're going to the back to the building. Thank you very much for hosting us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Wow. Muchas gracias.
Gracias, muy bueno. Gracias.
Gracias. ¿Qué carajo? Esto es mindset puro. Puro mindset.